All right. Have you ever reached a point in your life or career or your business where everything looked successful, but deep down it didn't feel aligned anymore? Maybe you started craving for more joy, more ease, more freedom. Maybe you question, is this really the business and life I want to build? If that resonates, type in a +1. You're in the right place because today's Real Talk is all about reinvention, letting go of what no longer fits, trusting your evolution, and creating a business that actually supports the life you want to live. I walked that path myself. After 10 years as a career coach, helping thousands of professionals land 100K to 350K jobs, I pivoted into business coaching in 2023. Not because I wasn't what I was doing wasn't working, but because I was evolving. I wanted more creativity, more spaciousness, more connection, more alignment. So I began helping coaches, consultants, and creators scale to 20K plus months, build a 6 and 7 figure business, and diversify their income streams through speaking, group programs, brand deals, licensing, and more. It was scary to let go of what felt safe, but it led me to so much more freedom and so much more fulfillment. And this is why I created the Coaches and Business Talk Real Talk series to remind you, you don't have to build alone. You don't have to stick with what no longer fits. And you absolutely can reinvent your business and life on your terms. This space is for real conversations, raw truths, and genuine connection. So let's kick things off with a question for you. Type in the comment to let us know, what are you craving for more of in your business and life right now? What are you craving more of in your business and life right now? Is it freedom, alignment, simplicity, confidence? Drop it in the chat. We would love to hear from you. Now, let me introduce you to someone who embodies this theme to the fullest, Dr. Jasmine Escalera. I first discovered Jasmine in 2019-2020. I was working through my own visibility blocks, wanting to show up more fully online and lead with my voice. And when my coach asked me, who do you admire and want to embody more of? I said without hesitation, Jasmine. She's bold, she's confident, she's unapologetically herself. Since then, Jasmine has become not only someone I deeply admire, but someone I now call my soul sister. I love and appreciate her so much. She's always willing to show up, support me, and pour into this community with her whole heart. We've had the joy of collaborating multiple times, and she joined my business mastermind luxury retreat in Cancun in 2023, where we had some deep, powerful conversations about what it means to build a life and business that truly aligns. And since then, she's been on fire. She's restructured her business, prioritized joy, rest, and alignment, reclaimed her voice, and stepped into even more powerfully into her purpose. She's not just building a business, she's building a life. And she's doing it her way. Jasmine is a LinkedIn top voice, LinkedIn learning instructor, sought after speaker, and this is her 6th time back speaking in my community. And every time she shows up, she brings truth, empowerment, and her signature dope energy. So let's welcome Jasmine back here. We're so excited to have you at a Real Talk today.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. It kind of brought me a little teary-eyed because first off, I didn't realize that we had met that long ago. Like, it's kind of insane to think that the years pass so fast. I can't even believe we're almost in May of 2025. And secondly, I think the same of you, Diana. I mean, you are just such a powerhouse and so amazing. And the way that you bring people together for these kinds of real connections, it's just beautiful to see. So I'm excited to be here again as a repeat offender in Diana's group.
Well, you're our most popular speaker coming back for the 6th time. So audience, feel free to type in, what are you excited to learn from Jasmine today? But I'm going to kick things off and we're going to have some real conversations with each other here. So Jasmine, let's just set the stage. Tell us a little bit about your business today. Who do you serve? What do you offer? And how has it evolved over the past few years?
Gosh, it has evolved tremendously. So, first off, I'm Dr. Jasmine Escalera. I'm a spiritual neuroscientist and a reinvention strategist. And essentially, what I do is I help women who are looking to have a certain kind of external life, so looking to achieve something externally, start to do the internal healing and internal change that needs to happen to create that external life. So, one of the things that I've realized throughout my life and throughout my journey is that whenever I wanted something externally, and I know you all have been talking about some of the things that you're looking for: confidence, simplicity, flexibility, money. Whenever there were things that I wanted to change externally, they were always attached to something internally that I either believed or didn't believe about myself or the particular thing that I was looking to achieve. And so that's what I really help women do, is to get more clarity around what is it that you want to do in your life externally, and then what are those limiting beliefs or blockers internally that we need to break through before we can even talk about strategy or before we can even talk about anything related to next steps. So that's what I do now, but I really started like Diana as a career coach. But what I did realize about career coaching is that no matter what area of life you're focusing on, your career, your business, it's still an area of your life, which means that whatever dirty mindsets or dirty beliefs you have about yourself, about success, about progress, about confidence, about courage, you carry that into those areas. So it's really important for us to always be focusing on what is my belief system in regards to what I am trying to achieve. And so even in career coaching, that was my primary focus a lot of times, was helping women to really become empowered first, which was a lot about the mindset, before they can actually do the thing they wanted to do.
Mm, I love that. Such a powerful intro. So take us back, where you were in your business and life before attending my mastermind retreat in 2023. What felt out of alignment for you?
Everything. Everything felt out of alignment for me. So when I first started coaching women, I really wanted to focus on empowerment coaching for women in the career space. So being a Latina in STEM was really challenging for me. It was extremely challenging for me to walk into spaces where I didn't feel like I was represented. And this didn't even necessarily have to do with being a woman or being a woman of color. I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn, New York. So my story was incredibly challenging. We struggled a lot in my family financially, but also emotionally. There was just a lot that went on in my childhood. And so it wasn't even that I was, a brown woman coming in with hoop earrings. It was really that I wasn't represented at all in terms of my story and my journey. And so what I wanted to focus on was helping women to understand that that story is actually what makes you incredibly unique, and that bringing those elements and essence of your strength, your resilience, your courage, your confidence based off of your path into the workplace is actually what you need to do to be the most successful version of yourself. So I took a pivot when I got some, maybe not the best career coaching advice. I was also trying to really make money in my business. I wanted to be able to be the person who was bringing in these, 100K launches and all that other great stuff we hear about. So I had a coach tell me, like, well, if you want to make money, follow the money. And that was the worst advice that I could have been given, because following the money meant pivoting into something that I didn't feel was soul aligned. So I started doing more job search coaching. And it was really funny because when I started out as a career coach, I said, I'm never going to do job search coaching because it's just so out of alignment with the type of way I live my life in terms of ease and just natural flow. But I followed the money, and following the money led me to feeling really just completely out of alignment with who I was. The coaching that I was doing just didn't flow. I was helping women get massive results, but it actually mimicked my career in a lot of ways, where I was conforming and doing something that was going against my core essence in order to achieve success. So I felt like I had essentially created a business that repeated the most toxic parts of my career. And I didn't even realize that I was doing that. And it was all because I was chasing something without really being in alignment with myself. And so one of the things that I realize now is that when you are doing the things that feel fulfilling, not only do you have a fulfilling life, you have fulfillment in all areas that encompass your life, including your business, your career, your family. So it's really about fulfilling yourself and knowing that the market and the business will follow when you're in your true joy.
I love that. Oh, I'm having goosebumps. Alignment and fulfillment. Remember this powerful question I asked at my retreat of what's the life you want to build and how does your business align with that life that you truly want? What shifted for you after that moment? How did that
I
impact
mean,
you?
that was like a huge thing for me because I have to say that no one ever in my life asked me how I wanted to live. Because we grew up extremely poor, because we grew up a certain way, and my parents had a lot of fear around money, and there was so much fear around scarcity and lack. They kind of just gave me the checklist life, and they had never even done any of these things. I was the first in my family to do it all. I was the first in my family to graduate high school, go to college, grad school, get a six-figure career. But they told me, like, that's exactly what you're supposed to do in order to be successful. So I never ever actually had someone look me in the face and say, "What do you want?" And so that was the first time, honestly, in my life at the age of, I guess I was maybe in my late 30s at that time, where someone really looked at me and said, "Well, what kind of life do you actually want to live? Like, how do you want to live this life?" And even though I had asked my clients that question many times as well, even though I was doing career coaching, I always wanted them to understand that your career is a part of your life, just like your business is a part of your life. I never reframed that and asked myself that. So at that point, lots of things shifted. It took some time to shift. I think the question needed to settle inside my being, but it really helped me to think about, like, well, what do I actually want to do with my time that is not business related? Because everything hinged on the business. Every single part of my day was about the business. I wasn't thinking about what Jasmine wanted. So it was the opportunity for me to be asked a question that I had never been asked before in my life, and to also focus on, well, what does this life want to look like, taking the business all off the table.
Wow, that's so powerful. Oh, Lauren is saying so many thoughts and self-examination is going inside me right now. Loving this. Love this. What's one of the hardest part of your journey that people don't see on the outside, but was deeply real behind the scenes?
So one of the things that, like, growing up the way that I grew up, we were not allowed to feel emotion. It was very much of, look, life is hard and you just sort of have to accept it. Like, it's really challenging and you just have to accept it. And the best thing to do is not to necessarily focus on it, it's to be solution oriented. So if you need money, how do you get money? If you need this, how do you get this? And so strength and resilience was more about solving problems rather than feeling problems. And so, what people probably don't know about me now is that I cry a lot. And so, I'm going to be 43 years old this year. And I think it's been 42 years of not being allowed to feel a lot of different emotions that I'm now feeling. And having the opportunity to really give myself the ability to, when I want to cry, to cry. And so I think what people don't necessarily see, because you see the exterior that we showcase on LinkedIn and Instagram, and we all do this, right? We showcase those components of ourselves that feel the most successful, that feel the most growth oriented. And that's what we're supposed to do as coaches, because we want to inspire. But there's also that other part of us, that vulnerability. And that also is something that, I'm tapping into now, is just the vulnerable part of me, the part of me that will sit here some days when I'm really frustrated and when it's not working, and just allow myself to cry, to not have any solutions, to not have any knowledge of how I'm going to get out of it, but just to simply say to myself, that will come. But right now, what I need to do is just feel.
I love that. Crying is okay. It's feeling your emotions. Ellen said, I'm a crier too.
Yeah, it's
Right?
actually very therapeutic. And what I realize now is that crying helps you get to the solution faster.
Yeah. What, if you're willing to share this, what are some of the things that you had to heal or
Yeah.
healing that you had to go through?
Yeah, so I think, coming from a community of color, coming from the Latino community, and I think many people can see this in different ways. We carry a lot of trauma in our bodies that actually don't even belong to us. And so much of my healing was around healing things that I experienced, but also healing things that were just generationally passed down to me. So no one in my family has been successful in terms of their finances. No one in my family has actually been able to ever get to the point of being financially secure and abundant. So it isn't even, when I talk about achieving financial abundance, this is not just about me. This is about being able to have the opportunity to really give this to my legacy and to change my legacy moving forward. And so much of what I've been healing or what I've had to heal is just generations of people not being able to achieve certain things, or holding on to shame, or holding on to scarcity, or holding on to that feeling of lack of safety. And it's been challenging because sometimes I have to heal what is happening to me in the moment, but recognize and realize that this is greater than me. And that can sometimes be a really heavy burden to carry. But when you come from certain communities and you become that person who really wants to create change, and many of us in this, Zoom room are that person in our families, whether we are from a community of color or not, where we are going to be the person who is going to do it differently. We have decided that we are going to break the cycle. We have decided that we are going to change the story. We're going to do something that no one else has ever done before. And when you choose to do that, it becomes so much more about you. It becomes about not just what you're doing in the moment, but how you're going to change the whole narrative for those who came before you and those who are going to come after you. And although there's so much beauty in that, it's also a heavy burden to carry at times.
Thank you for being vulnerable here. We have a question from Lauren. That's a beautiful question. A segment of this. How did you find the courage to live as your true self after living a life of shoulds?
Yeah, I think, you have to come to the point in your life where you just decide that you just don't give a sugar honey iced tea. And so that's really where I came to, right? Like, there was a point where I was almost kind of like, okay, so I could keep going down this path, or I could really try doing this for myself. Like, and even if I fail and it doesn't work, well, damn, at least I made the decision. And so it really was a point in my life where I think I had fell so much to the bottom. So, I had this really successful career. I had a PhD. I was a research director. I was making, close to 200K when I was 32 years old. I was married, and it all crumbled in front of me. I was, the workplace became incredibly toxic. I became passed over for promotions. My marriage disintegrated. And I fell so far to the bottom that there was literally nowhere else to go. And so for me, it was almost just kind of like, okay, I can try to rebuild the way everybody else has told me it should work, but I think I found the lie here. It doesn't work that way. So why don't I try doing this a little bit more on my own and for myself? And so I think you just have to make the commitment to yourself that you are just going to love you no matter what. That even when you fall to the ground, that you're going to be the one that's going to pick yourself up, and that you're going to do it your way, because F it. Like, there is no other way to do it. So you just have to make the commitment to yourself. And so much of courage and confidence is saying to yourself, I am going to do it. And I know that there are going to be times when I fall. And I know that there are going to be times where it's not going to work. But I'm going to do it for me anyway. And this might sound really kind of odd, but I think about death a lot. I think about me being on my dying bed and what I would say to myself. And I always, always, always want to say that I tried. And so that's what I think about every single day, is like, am I trying? Did I try enough? And, some days the answer is no, but that's because I gave my self permission to relax and chill. But I want the majority of days for me to be able to say that I tried when I get to that point. And so that's what I think about. I think about, it doesn't matter. Nothing that anybody else thinks it matters. And in the end, when you're at the end, it's just you and you. And so what do you really want to be thinking about yourself when you get there?
Oh, so good. This chat is on fire right now. I'm stealing that line. Sugar honey iced. What's the line, Jasmine?
I didn't know if I could curse here or not, so I decided to come up with an acronym.
I love that. Everyone loved that line. Oh, silently crying in the heart. Amazing, amazing. So Let's talk a little about money. Money fears are real for a lot of
Yeah.
people, especially even during a reinvention or a pivot. How did you work through the fear of what if I don't make enough? And what helped you feel safe to keep going anyway?
So there is a lot that I am grateful for in terms of how I grew up. The way that I grew up taught me how to be really strong and how to be really resilient and how to be a problem solver. You can't put me in any situation and tell me I can't figure out how to get myself out of it. Like that is what growing up in Brooklyn in the 80s and 90s does for you. You have zero fear and you face things head on, and it's almost kind of like you're a Mack truck. Like there's no stopping you. Um, I am so grateful. This is actually really crazy. When I first moved down to South Beach, one of the exercises that I felt called to do was to write a thank you letter to scarcity. And so I am really grateful that I grew up with a lack of money. I am really grateful that I grew up not having much, because now when I think about money scarcity, money insecurity, what about money? I always kind of think of it as like, I've already lived that. Like, so I know what that feels like. I'm going to live something different. So I think it's really about coming to terms with whatever your financial and money story is. And, when people say gratitude is so incredibly important, it is so incredibly important. So if you're struggling in your business now financially, or you're looking to make more money, I mean, we all are, right? That's what we want to do. We want that financial freedom. It's so much of why we create our businesses. It's important to recognize that this moment where you are scrounging and where you are trying and where you are being strategic, this is the moment where you learn. This is the moment where you learn not just who you are, but you learn what works. You learn who your person is. You learn what your strategies are. And so it's about being grateful for the moment where you are at the bottom, knowing that you will get to the top. And in fact, someone once told me that you can't feel the good until you actually felt the bad. And so knowing that is something that I really hold on to. Is like in the moments where it's not feeling so great, I just tell myself, like, when it starts to feel good, I'm going to know what that feels like. So I think it's really about understanding your money story, understanding your money journey, understanding your goals, but then showing gratitude to where you are and really reframing it to say, this is the moment that's teaching me something about myself, about my business, about my pivots, about what I want to do, about what I want to change, and knowing that you're going to get there either way.
Hmm. Oh, I love it. I feel like we're in a TED talk right now. This is so good. Like I'm like mesmerized by this. So powerful. Yes, that's what Kate is saying. Yes. So for coaches who are looking to reinvent their life or pivot their business, what are the first 2 to 3 steps that you would recommend to clarify, whether it's realignment, clarifying like what they want to do?
Mhm.
What advice do you have for them?
Well, I would say that if you're at a point where you're thinking, I need to reinvent my business, that's because there's something that doesn't feel right to you. And so I would go back to why you started the business in the first place, right? So when I started my business for freedom. I started my business for legacy. I started my business to change something within my family, but also to change something within myself. I started my business to empower women to live life the way that they really want to live it. And I had gone so far away from those specific goals, that the reasons why I actually did this. So if you're feeling like my business needs a little bit of an overhaul, and it could be a small change or it could be something bigger, then I would say start with why you started. And the why is so incredibly important because it can help you to see how you might have drifted a little bit from that why, because you were doing what we all do. For me, I was chasing the 10K months, I was chasing the 100K launches, and I lost a lot of myself doing that. So I think it's just a matter of, why did I start this business? And I truly do believe that what you want and the market do have an overlap. So, what feels good to you? What feels important to you? Why you want to change the industry? Why you want to help people? And the market do definitely overlap. So, it's about also asking yourself, what kind of change do I want to create? What kind of people do I want to work with? And almost sort of assessing based off of what you've done thus far, what has worked for you, what feels good for you, what kinds of clients were really wonderful for you, and taking that information and then moving that in the next direction. And that can be, like I said, small shifts, or it can be bigger change. Even if you find yourself doing something like what I did, which is a little bit more of a bigger brand change, you can start that incrementally. So I was a career coach, and then I wanted to do, more healing work with women. And what I did was incrementally move that into that space. So I started with career coaching, and then I moved into, okay, let's reinvent your career. Let's think about how we can change up your career to find more fulfillment and to find more opportunity there for joy. And so you can actually make these shifts and make these changes that feel more powerful and aligned to you. And they don't have to be massive leaps that trigger you into thinking, oh my gosh, this isn't going to be possible.
Mm. Could we get a little bit more tactical, your steps that what you did? So you went from career coach, reinvention coach, and then now
Yeah, so I went
coaching.
from career coaching to more so like reinventing your career for more
Yeah.
passion and fulfillment. So, more like career pivots and career transitions that were more aligned to your internal mission. And then from there, I started to enter into reinvention coaching that was more like, let's look at your life in general and the different components of your life that you want to change. And now I'm stepping more forcefully into the healing space, and we'll be doing more spiritual groundedness and spiritual healing and generational healing, particularly
Ooh.
with women of color.
Ooh, this is new to me. I love that for you. This is so good. I can see that for you here. I'm going to get a little bit tactical on this because I know quite
Yeah,
a few people I know are going through this transition
yeah,
is this fear of I built all this, throughout the years, what I'm known for, I'm making this change. How do you go about, I guess, communicate, marketing yourself, that message that's
yeah.
not confusing? Like from the marketing perspective, sales perspective, how do you have that conversation and show up?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny that, I always think that things happen for a reason because when I did career coaching, so much of the women that I was working with wanted to make career transitions. And so I took a lot of the advice that I gave to them when I was actually making my original shift into changing my business. So you want to find the alignment between what you were doing and what you are going to do. And that's some really great first ways to introduce your audience to something new without having it feel like a slap in the face. Because some of us on this, Zoom call have maybe built an audience of few tens of thousands of people or maybe thousands of people. You might have a few thousand people on an email list. And I was terrified that when I would start sending out information that was a little bit more mindset directive, a little bit more about reinvention, and now stepping into a little bit more about spirituality, I was terrified that people wouldn't gravitate towards that and I would lose everyone. And so what I just did was take the career advice of like, where's the alignment here? So if I want to do this and I'm doing this, how do they sort of connect? And that's how I started to tell the story of career reinvention because I was able to loop in what I wanted to do, but also keep the audience generally the same and almost introduce them to the conversation very naturally without really making such a huge pivot and huge shift. So I would start there. I would start with thinking about, okay, I want to transition more into this because this is more soul aligned or more aligned with my why. And my audience is this. How can I actually start to tell the story and introduce them to this without it having to be such a smack in the face? I think the other thing is that we have to realize that as we grow, our audience naturally is growing with us. And so that's something really important that I also had to tell myself, right? When I first started in career coaching, my LinkedIn posts were very much like you do this, you do this, and you do this. And as I naturally evolved and learned more about myself, my coaching, my business, my life, everything, my messaging started to naturally just shift in the direction of where my life was going. So I think we also think that our audience is where we started when our audience is actually naturally gravitating in the same direction that we are because we were teaching them where they were, but they're not there anymore. They've already been coming on the journey with us. So we also have to kind of think of it as whatever you are thinking you want to do, so much of your audience is probably already aligning in that direction because energetically you've been taking them on that journey.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Like you just reminded me for me energetically over the last several years, I've had more coaches reach out to me of how I'm doing things. And so naturally that was like the natural path of transition.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started sharing more about my life and business, that's when things started to shift. Meaning instead of having to talk about the past stuff that I've been teaching, the how-to stuff, to start living the life that you want and how people would aspire to that and that naturally attract that audience. So I love that you're talking about
Absolutely.
this.
I think that's so true. Like so many people started to reach out to me and say like, I love the way you live your life. It
Yes.
wasn't even about like the business that I was
Same here.
building, right? I love the way you live your life. And so I think we have to also open up to those people who are reaching out to us because of who we are, not necessarily because of what we do. And because so much of our business is a brand-based business where we essentially are the business, you are connecting to your people in a completely different way than if you were just like, here's my product, the iPhone, you want it or you don't want it. People are connecting to you as the being. And so where you go, they will go with you because they're committed to you because you've already got them on board with who you are.
Yeah, this is building the brand loyalty of who you are. So this is a great segue to this question around you've built a brand that's authentic, true to you. What advice would you give to others who are scared to show up fully or to share their story and want to attract more aligned clients, leads?
So, yeah, I mean, I didn't start that way, as I mentioned. Like when I started coaching, I had so much imposter syndrome around like, is anybody even going to think that I can help them? That everything that I did was about like, I can help you, right? I was like, these are the three things you need to do to move forward in your career. And that's great content, and that's super valuable content as part of a content strategy. But I leaned so much into that. But when I started to coach women, what I really realized is like their story was so similar to mine. And I had to tell myself not telling my story is actually really a terrible thing to do because other women need to know that it's okay. Other women need to know that if you're feeling this way, it's perfectly fine. Other people are feeling that way too. So much of sharing our story is, of course, building a brand of authenticity, but also so much of sharing our story is about letting other people know that they're not alone. I've felt this, and that's why I do this, because I don't ever want you to feel the same way. So much of why I do what I do now is because I've fallen to the bottom so many times that I would love to be able to save someone from going through that same turmoil. So it's really about being able to say, I understand you, I connect to you, I've been you, and you're not alone. And so, reframing that fear into you have to share your story because you need other people to know that this is real and they're not by themselves. And even if they never choose to work with you, you have literally changed someone's life by telling them they're not by themselves. And I think that that's worth more than any dollar anyone's ever going to spend on you.
Yeah, yeah. So many of us are resonant with this. Like this is really the power of just believing in your why of why you do what you do, right? What do you stand for? What's the message that you have to the world and the impact and difference that you want to make? I love this. I want to ask the audience what's resonating with you. Type in the comments. We're going to open the floor for you all to chat with Jasmine as well. I just have a couple more questions for her. What advice would you give to coaches who are feeling stuck in the current
Mhm.
season and unsure if it's
Yeah.
time to change, pivot, do something different, or they're just feeling at a crossroads right now, or maybe like, hey, I might want to quit my business, get a job. Like, what's your advice for them?
Don't stay in your head. Before coming to your retreat, Diana, I felt I isolated myself. So one of the things that I was taught is you can't be vulnerable. You can't put that vulnerability out there. And if you don't know the answer, you better go out there and find it somehow. But the finding it was always me trying to figure it out on my own. I couldn't actually ever tell someone, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. This is like really hard. Like that was very challenging for me to ask for help or to ask for support. And I remember before I went on your retreat, you asked me probably a cajillion times to do it. And I was just like, it's not for me. I'm not ready. Excuse me, there's construction going on. Hopefully they'll stop. I'm not ready. I can't do this right now. And it was hard for me to really like let that barrier down and to really allow someone to let me in. So what I would say is don't be in isolation. Like go out there and talk to people. And if you see someone who has a business that's in alignment with sort of where you want to go or what you want to do, that's the person that I would say you need to speak to ASAP because that gives you the opportunity to feel out what that looks like. So if there are any career coaches in this space, you are the best people to figure this out, because these were all the strategies that I gave to my professionals who were looking to get from stuck to thriving in their careers, right? What was the first thing I told them? Go out there and start talking to people, start networking, start making connections, start finding people who are doing the things that you were doing, that you want to do, and talk to them. So I would say, do not stay in isolation. Get out there and start really seeking out community, like Diana's community, like Diana's support, or people that can help you just think it through. You are not alone. And I think that one of the biggest issues in the business world, and this is why I love Diana and what she's doing, is that we paint these beautiful pictures, right? Oh, I got the 100K launch. I did the 10K this. I did the da 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 da. It it makes it feel like that's the only thing you should be focusing on. And so we paint these beautiful pictures in the business space when there's so much more that we go through. And I think that's what really needs to be talked about, is the
Yeah.
challenges, not to make people run away, but to really just say, again, you're not alone.
I love that message. I love that. Thank you so much about this. And this ties into great what Izzy's sharing right now, negative self-talk. This is part of the worthiness or the imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not ICF certified. I'm not a recruiter with 20 years experience. I've never had formal coaching training, never officially been a career coach. Nobody would ever work with me. You know what, let's talk about this because I feel like a lot of us can relate to this, that I'm not enough or I'm not ready for this. How can I offer this?
Well, you know what I would say, in my entire 5+ years of coaching, no one ever asked me if I was certified. Literally, no one ever asked me if I was certified. And no one even ever asked me where I got what my PhD was in. I think that those things matter more if you're doing like corporate style work, where a lot of companies are looking for certain kinds, and that's just the way corporate America is, certain kinds of metrics to bring people in. But when you're working with, just regular B2C, people want to know that you understand them. People want to know that you've had a similar journey. People want to know that you can get them from point A to point Z and that you're going to care for them along the journey. People want to know that you're going to listen to them, because so many people don't have anyone, including myself, who sits in front of them and says, what do you want your life to look like? So it's about so much more of that rather than the certifications and all the other stuff. Now, if you're B2B, that's a different story. But if you're B2C, this is really about who are you?
Amazing, amazing. And my one final question, I want to open the floor for the audience to share either your behind the scenes struggles, ahas, questions you have for Jasmine. Feel free to come on camera here. So my question to you here is, what does building a business that aligns with your dream life mean to you today? How are you living that out? What does it look like?
This is a little strange to say. It looks like giving myself the time to date. I've been single for 4+ years because I've been drilling into this business so much that I prioritized it over love. I prioritize it over partnership. So it's giving myself time to date. It's giving myself the extra 30 minutes to walk my dog on the beach and not feeling like I need to rush to get something done. It's giving myself the time to prioritize the things that make me feel whole and happy, like going to the gym in the morning, eating really healthy. So I think living life for me and having an aligned business means living life first and understanding what living life means to me in this season of my life. It means understanding what I want to achieve and be able to feel in this lifetime, and prioritizing that and making the business success a secondary item to that. And in making the business success a secondary item to that, I've actually realized that I've created a business that I enjoy being in, not a business that I regret creating.
This is so good. Can we get some heart emojis here? Some love. I love this. I'm hearing this key message that I'm taking away that I talk a lot about as well is making yourself a strategic priority. When you make yourself a strategic priority for you of what you want, what feels good to you, what's in alignment, what feels easy, and doing things that light you up, living the life, truly living the life that you want, business feels more fun. business feels also more magnetic and feels just more joy and fulfilling as well. Like that's the key message I'm taking away from Jasmine too. Like get back to your why. Make your why greater than your fears. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I love this. Okay, I'm going to open the floor to questions. This is so good. Izzy, you want to share? I saw you commented here.
Yeah, I'm so much alignment. I really, really love what you're saying. I gotta say, I'm like so um inspired by just like your initial introduction and like how clear it came across. And like just because you're so clear, it just made you come across so much more confident, which like makes you magnetic. And like at a point where I'm redefining things for myself, I'm really curious on how you got the messaging of that right. How do you approach sort of, sifting through all the different parts of you and figuring out that like this is who I am and this is how I'm going to talk about myself.
That is such a great question. And Izzy, I want to be transparent with you. First off, I love your story of your 2.5-year-old. That just sounds so beautiful, being able to give yourself the opportunity to experience them. Because from what I hear, I mean, I have a dog. His name is Cody. He's going to be 8 this year, and 8 years have gone so fast. So I can't even imagine how it is with a toddler. But I will be fully transparent with you. That introduction is the first time I've ever given it. So I've been doing reinvention coaching now for months. And that was the first time that I ever spoke it in a way that I felt it was the most crisp and the most clear. So what I will say with you is this is an evolution. It is not something you get right on the first try. What I will tell you is that think of the clients that you either love working with or that you would love working with, and think about their transformation or the transformation you want to provide to them. If you are essentially your client, which many of us are, right? We create these passion-based businesses where we are the person that we are coaching. We were just a few years ago that was who we are. Then think about like what you would have wanted someone to say to you that would have been like, damn, I need to work with that person. So I want to be transparent with you because I want you to know that it's an evolution. And I'm so grateful that you said it made sense, because now I'm going to try to remember what I said or watch this recording, and then I will use that over and over and over and over again. But just please know that it's an evolution, and you won't get it right the first time. But the more that you tap into who's my person, what's my thing, who do I want to help, how do I want to coach, you'll get crisper and crisper and crisper as you go until that moment where someone is going to look at you and say, wow, that was so freaking clear and you sounded so freaking confident. So you'll get there.
I
That's
love it.
amazing. And I'll say that I know other people were commenting the same thing. It sounded like you've said that a million times. So you did such a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I take that in.
It was a great intro. I didn't realize that was the first time, but it was so good. Like I was
It
like,
was the first time I was like, I have to get on with Diana, the clarity goddess over here. What am I gonna say?
I love it. I love it. Allison.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm like in a cafe, so I'm just a little low. So first of all, I thought that intro was amazing as well, and I really connected with your story. I'm a woman of color myself, and I've had a business for a long time. I had a recruitment business before I became a career coach, and I worked it with my dad. And when my dad passed away, I just really kind of fell out of love with recruiting, and I decided to go into career coaching because it just made the most sense. Like obviously, you taught people how to find a job before, so why would you teach people how to do that now as a coach? And I just don't love it the way that I thought I was going to love it. Like that's just it. And so when I started working with our coach here, we talked about working with entrepreneurs and with other coaches and growing businesses. And I'm really stuck in imposter syndrome right now, where I'm really like, well, I haven't been a coach for that long. I had a very successful recruitment business, but I haven't had that success yet in coaching. And so how am I going to teach other people how to grow a business in coaching when I've just been a good entrepreneur, but not necessarily a really great coach? So I've been getting in my head a lot and just really second guessing myself, which is not something that I feel like it's not really me per se, but it's just kind of reinventing. Like I had a lot of loss over the last couple of years, losing my parents, then changing businesses and moving countries, and like I'm still kind of finding myself as well. So I would just love your feedback as to like how do you get over that? How do you just kind of move forward?
Yeah. So there is a little bit of banging on the outside. So if you can't hear me, just let me know and I'll speak up a little louder. So what I like to tell myself is that imposter syndrome actually isn't a bad thing. So imposter syndrome is just a trigger for reactions that happen when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and trying to figure out something very new to you. So perhaps the reframe of this isn't actually a bad thing. This is just something that is happening to me because I'm stepping outside of the comfort zone and I'm trying something new. Could be a nice way to just settle the nervous system, right? Because oftentimes what happens is when we're triggered in self-doubt or triggered in imposter syndrome, our nervous system is so triggered and so active that we're telling ourselves we're stuck. I can't figure this out. This isn't going to work for me. So just calming the nervous system can get you to a really good place. And for me, that shift really helps. Now, it sounds like you are finding yourself, and perhaps that is the journey right now. So I left New York, and for the last almost 3 years, I've been finding myself in a completely new place. And I've made that the priority, knowing that through me finding myself, the business is going to build with me as I grow. So I think it's okay for you to say, I'm still figuring it out for me. I'm still figuring out what I want, and to allow yourself to be in that place. And I love how you said, like, I was a recruiter, so it was a natural transition into career coaching. That makes total sense. But you gave yourself the flavor, and you just don't like the flavor as much. So now you just have to figure out what the flavor is and allow yourself to be in that place of exploration. Like, I would really ask myself, what was the best and most exciting client that I had, and what was I helping that person with? When I asked myself that question, I realized that the person who I loved coaching the most, I wasn't actually even coaching them on their career. I was coaching them on building their confidence through breaking down negative belief systems. That's what I was helping them do. And so if you could ask yourself, the most fun client that I've ever had, what was I really helping that client do and explore? It might not even be a career-centric question. It might have been that one session that you felt so lit up after you did it with them, but you were focusing on something different that was adjacent to the issue of their career. But so I would focus on reevaluating what imposter syndrome means to you and trying on imposter syndrome just means that I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. 2, I would give yourself grace around just finding yourself and knowing that the business is going to evolve as you do. And 3, I would do that exercise of who's the best client I've ever worked with and what was I really helping them to do.
Thank you so much. That was so helpful. I really appreciate that.
I love it. It's an evolution, right? Of continued figuring out. You don't have to have all the answers. And Jasmine, just to let you know, Alice is coming to my mastermind retreat next week in Cancun. So she's going to go through the massive
Wonderful.
transformation that you went through 2 years
Yeah, that's
ago.
going to be so incredibly helpful. Giving yourself an opportunity like that is going to be amazing. Because one of the things that that helped me a lot was understanding how other people were doing their business and understanding what I liked about what they were doing versus what I was like, oh no, I don't ever want to do that. And that was when I realized that the whole launching that everybody does that I was trying to do is not authentic to me. So I want to try something else. So you'll learn so much about even just the nitty-gritty of how you want to run your business that you'll come out with a lot of clarity. And through the next few weeks after that, things will start to settle for you for sure.
Yeah. Something that I've learned over the years that I talk a lot about, having talked to a lot of coaches at different stages, is you get to really build the business that you want based on the model. Like there's any different model strategy could work. As long as you feel good about it, you're excited about it. Like in my case, even this year, I've doubled down on running events. Like by next week, I would have done 22 events in 4 months. It's crazy, but it feels so good to me. I love these virtual events, in-person events. I love bringing people together. I love this. It feels so fun, but I don't want to do launches. I don't want to do this massive launch of thousands of people coming in. I want like intimate conversations like this where we're having real talk. I got really clear with that. Like I was like, I can bring in a lot of people, but I'm like, no, I just want like 20, 30 people. It's like we're having a fireside chat or having like an entrepreneur roundtable, dinner, lunch, and just getting clear on that. Like that strategy has worked so well for me in some like love launches. So I think it's really getting clear. Going back to what Jasmine's been talking about, is like, what's the life that you want and what's the business that you want that will fit into that as well.
Yeah.
I want
And
to
that's
operate.
the thing. That's one thing that I have to say I love about your coaching, Diana, because I've worked with a lot of business coaches and they essentially taught me how to grow a business the way that they did it without actually understanding who I was as a person, not as a business owner, as a person. Hard work is not an issue for me.
Mhm.
I'm a New Yorker. Hard work is not an issue. Hustle is not an issue. Grind is not an issue. I choose not to live my life that way. I choose when I go into hustle and when I go into grind. This is not my default mechanism anymore. And so when you really understand who you are and how you want to thrive, that is going to help you funnel through no, that's not for me, or yes, that feels for me. So you're going to hear tons of things in your business journey. And once you are more on point with you and how you want to live and how you want to thrive and what you want to do, you'll be more confident in being able to say, oh, that was fantastic that that gave you that 100K launch. I choose to do it my way. And then you'll find your people who will help and support you and guide you in the way to do that that feels more aligned to you. Because you can build a business however the hell you choose. We do not live in corporate America. We do not work in corporate America. Nobody tells us how we do nothing. So you get to decide. That's why we created businesses, for freedom. So why not give yourself the freedom and the luxury to do it the way you want?
TED Talk moment there. I just love that. Clevette, I see your hand. Raise your hand here.
Hello. I have to say, I came to Jasmine's content because you were posting your workouts. And girl, they're crazy. They're crazy. Like, I was just like, okay, I was striving for Angela Bassett arms. I'm like, forget that. I want yours. But as you were
Thank
giving
you.
the talk, I was just like, oh, dang, we grew up in the same household. And used to being in the room of being the only, especially having been in sales for, well over 15 years and stepping into those spaces when you're a high performer and it's like, and you're the only and the only, and now pivoting into a new space where, again, very few within the AI space, female, speaking on the topic of AI, very few and far between. So, just how you embody that and moving forward to allow yourself the ability to be vulnerable, to ask for help, to open yourself up. Because Diana will attest to that. She's like, girl, please, like, can you stop going quiet? So thank you for sharing that, because it just, it's almost like giving permission, though I know I didn't need it. It's good to
Yeah.
hear it from others. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, thank you so much for those kind words, and I accept them all. Please reach out to me in the DMs on LinkedIn because the only people I know in the AI space are actually women. So I would love to send you the profiles of some of the dopest women that I know in the AI space who are really changing the industry, just to be able to show that you are not alone. And I also want to tell you that for so long, being the only was crippling until the day that I decided that it was going to be the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. And I made it into my story and integrated it into the story rather than shied away from it. And that was when I found the most power, was when I stepped into, yeah, I was always the only, and I fought my way to everything. And so there is no permission that I'm giving you. You know you have it, but I just want you to also know that your story is what makes you so magnificent.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will be reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drop. I love that. Your story is your power. We were just talking about this yesterday in my private client group session, how your story is your superpower, is what differentiates you.
Mm-hmm.
People are not only just buying your offer, they're buying you. What makes you amazing? What makes you awesome? Like, how are you living your life? What do you stand for? That's what they're buying. I love that. Who do you have next? Sonia, and then we have Lauren and Sono.
Jasmine, finally able to meet you. I just want to say the energy, everything everybody is saying, but coming from a Latina, it just really just goosebumps and everything. And I know as a Latina and many other more, but I just want to center that in the Latina. I feel that you have to overcome a lot of like stuff coming from limited belief culturally. And for me, I'm a young business owner. You can say I just have 1 year in this, and I feel the same, like first to graduate, the only one that speaks the language, the example. But I feel that setting boundaries with family has become one big struggle because they don't understand your new chapter. It
Yep.
is easy to do it with cousins and brothers and sisters, but when it comes to parents, especially when there's a lot of trauma or maybe one of them is sick, I feel that setting boundaries and not feel that guilty, but it also bleeds into your life and your new
Yeah,
chapter of business when you
absolutely.
just let them in. So I don't know if you
Yeah.
went through this, so I just want
Yeah.
to know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started my business, my parents, my mom was always very supportive. My dad has a lot of trauma in his life and in his lineage. So does my mom, but she's come to work through it in a different way. But so when I started my business, my dad actually never even asked me about it. He didn't acknowledge that it existed until the day that I said someone paid me. Like the day that I said someone paid me for coaching, he was like, "Wait a second, like this is a real thing. Like this isn't like a hobby that you're doing. Like this is a thing." He didn't understand because it wasn't his journey. And for him, his trauma was around making sure that I was safe and secure financially. He was happy when I got married. He was happy when I got a job where I had 6 figures and a 401k and health insurance. But that's his trauma. And so much of what I had to recognize with my family in particular is that they will not understand my journey because their trauma will not allow them to see it. But what they will see is my happiness, my joy, my fulfillment, my love, my gratitude. And so that's what I show them each and every day. I do not look for my parents to validate my experience. I look for them to see how happy I am. And when they are ready to ask questions about what I do, they will. My dad is now one of my biggest supporters. He watches all of my Instagram stories, you know, and he'll like send me a message and say, "I watched your Instagram story today. Mom showed me your Instagram story. It looks so good." You know, you have to almost kind of think of it as your parents want you to be safe and secure. That's their biggest thing. And so they will always be looking for you to be safe and secure. But when we come from immigrant families, when we're in the first generation or even the second generation, safety and security means living the American dream. That's what they were sold. And that's what they believe. So when you do something outside of that, it's going to be triggering for them, but you have to let them hold those triggers. You cannot take those triggers on for yourself. And so that was the boundary that I had to set, was their trauma is speaking, but their trauma doesn't have to change my life. I can live differently, and allowing for myself to just do what I knew was right for me. I left New York, moved down to Miami. When my mom retired last year, my parents moved to Tennessee. They both told me that the reason why they felt confident to leave New York was because they saw me take the journey that I took. And so each and every day, I think about how I'm changing them by changing me. And so that's really the boundary that I set, is your trauma is your trauma. It doesn't affect how I live my life. But I will show you through my actions, through my happiness, and through my fulfillment that there is a different way to live. And if you choose to come on that path and journey with me, I am more than happy to take you on it. If not, I can love you from South Beach.
I love that. Thank you so much for giving me that new perspective because I've been hearing a lot and I went to therapy, but it's always the same thing. Like write it out, talk to them, or like expect something out of it. But this is a new
No,
perspective.
so I have never spoken any of my trauma or my trauma healing to my parents. I have
No.
never said a word to them. I have healed myself. I have made myself the priority because this is my life. And through my healing, I know that I am changing them. And that's what I hold on to. I've never felt the need to tell them anything that I've gone through. And there was a time where I didn't talk to my parents for a bit. And that was because I needed space to heal. And now I see my parents as, traumatized little beings that I can love and hold and secure and be with and have the best relationship with. But they don't have to run my life through their trauma.
Oh, this is so good.
Thank you.
So, so good to not look for your parents for validation. I agree with that, Alan. And that's something, one of my biggest breakthroughs that I had over a decade ago when I became a coach was when a coach told me, don't live the life that what your parents expect. Stop living that life. And that was a breakthrough moment for me because growing up, being Chinese, immigrated from Hong Kong, it was being the big sister role model for my three siblings, getting that corporate job, playing it safe. But I was not fulfilled. And so when I broke into wanting to start my business, they were worried. They're like, you got into Google. Why are you starting a business? You have a good salary. And the second thing I had to overcome from my parents was my mom was always telling me to not make too much money or make more money than my dad or my husband. Because if I do, then he's going to divorce me or not love me. And so I had to break through that as well, that trauma of myself, of what my parents were telling me. And so I'm so glad we're talking about this because when we heal ourselves, like John said, we are healing the next, like the previous generation, the next generation. Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
and that's why I think healing is the best blessing that you can give yourself. And I have to tell you all that I am so grateful that I stepped into business ownership. I mean, if this never goes anywhere, I will still love it to the grave because I would have never done this level of healing had I not had the veil of what reality really is pulled from my face. And I had to step into doing it on my own. I'm so grateful. So all of you business owners are doing something amazing for yourself. You're really trying to carve your own path and your own journey, which is going to be a trigger for a lot of healing that has to happen. And that's the biggest blessing of what you're doing.
Absolutely. We just had a beautiful healing session last Thursday. So for those of you missed it, message me. We had a healer who came in and it was so beautiful. A lot of you messaged me how much you loved it. Lauren, and then we have Sono, and then I believe Amy.
I'm coming off video for you because I love you. And oh, okay, there we go. I look normal. The idea, like the resilience where you're talking about, like how I can overcome anything, but I overcome in the future. Just a real quick story. Um, Going back to what we learned yesterday, when I gave birth to my twins, I almost died, like flat out died. I was in a coma, had a breathing tube. And once I woke up from the coma, and my husband is very dramatic. He said, "We thought we almost lost you." And I said to him, with a very hoarse voice, because they had just taken out the breathing tube, I said, "Do you know who you married? You think death can take me?" And he was like, "Oh my
That's
God."
amazing. That's amazing.
So I have to remind myself when I doubt can I make this business work? I'm like, I came back from death. I can make a
Mm-hmm.
business work. This is about putting things together. I have the resources. I have Diana. I have support. I can do this. So
Yeah.
thank you for so much for all the truth bombs and cutting onions. Someone's cutting onions nearby again. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your encouragement and your
Yeah.
reminders, really. So thank
Yeah.
you. That's all really I had to say.
Absolutely. No, and I think that you hit a really key point is the reminding ourselves. So, um, I think probably some people kind of think that I wake up like this every day. No, I wake up and I do things to get myself to this every day. So I do not wake up confident and resilient and strong and powerful. I just wake up. And I wake up and I choose that every single day. So someone the other day said, being married to my husband is a choice. I have to choose to love him every day. And I said, oh, that's so funny, because I choose every single day to be this version of myself. It is a choice.
Oh, so beautiful. It's a choice. Love that. Then we have next Sono, my fellow coach and friend, all the way from
Hi.
Brussels.
All the way
Hey,
from Brussels.
Sono.
I'm ignoring my kids because I wanted to say hi. They
Aw.
have dinner. They'll survive. I saw a bag. I saw a bag of
They'll
chips.
figure it out.
I don't have questions, but I wanted to say hi to Diana. I wanted to say hi to Jasmine and everyone here. And I wanted to share a couple of quick things about Diana. But before I do that, can I just say, wow, okay. So I was on a flight like 8 years ago and I saw a LinkedIn Learning by Amy Bateman. And I'm like, she's here? Because you were freaking amazing. I think there was a thing called Career Cake or something, and you were such a pro. And I was like, one day I want to be like Amy when I grow up. And you're here right now. I had like such a girl crush on you. So anyway, wanted to say that and get it out of the way.
Oh,
And
thank you so much. I sold that business a couple of years ago. So yeah,
I
and I'm
can
a
see-
massive
I-
fan, massive fan of Jasmine. So I had to get on today.
Yeah, exactly. I just saw that on LinkedIn. So I wanted to say just wanted to love on Diana for a second. For those that maybe haven't met her in person, I've met Diana once. And it wasn't just like meet, but it was like, hey, I'm going to be in Paris. Why don't you come? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be driving back. Why don't you spend the night? Okay, let's share a hotel room. Oh, okay. From like never met to like spending the night. I just wanted to say that Diana is exactly the way she is online. This is exactly how she is offline. So this is very important because you do come across like people who are like, and then in person, there's like this icy cold vibe. Diana's not this way. And I just wanted to say, I know you said 1:15 EST. I'm going to make this quick. I'm working with someone. It's a year and a half. Diana, you know this. And it's a big commitment. She's amazing. But when that expires, I always want to work with a coach. And I'm definitely manifesting that I'm going to be working with you next. And one thing that she's been telling me for 6 months is to post more testimonial case study and show off your clients and they're so successful. Why are you keeping this to yourself? I have no idea why I've been so resistant. And last month I was like, Diana, every goddamn post is about like something amazing her clients did. And I was like, I like reading that. Then what is the hesitation? Like, what's going on? So I started doing that more and more. And I also wanted to leave you with a little, tactical thing, because these are not posts that get traction, but they get DMs. And I know, Diana, I'm sure you're preaching this. So vanity wise, it's like, oh, 18 likes, but 3 DMs. So no, I want what she's having. How did she double her salary? And I'm like, that's what Diana does. Diana is not like, oh, look, I'm so amazing. She lets her clients do that. And my coach was like, yeah, I've been telling you for 6 months. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe it took an Asian woman to see an Asian woman do it. And I was like, oh, I can do that too. So I wanted to say that. So that's it.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the love. I really appreciate it. I think you remind me why I do what I do, why I love bringing a community like this together. Like, I feel a lot of you I've already either met, talked to in a long time, or you've followed me for a long time. And I think part of like when we talk about sharing stories, part of like the limited belief we have is what we feel like we're showing off, right? We're showing off, what do people think, we're bragging. And one of the things that I had to overcome is around, it's actually a disservice for not sharing how we're making an impact, a difference in someone's life, because you never know how that message or story could impact someone else. To give them either hope, inspiration, empowerment, belief, you just never know. And so that's the mindset shift that I had to have, of overcoming, like, oh my God, it's all about me. It's not. It's actually about bigger than that, the impact that I have on others, the ripple effect impact. And that's
And I
what
used to, yeah, that's very true. And I just quick addition there. And I used to think, well, what if this triggers someone? And I've realized now, maybe they need the goddamn trigger. Sometimes we need to face those triggers because it's like, why? Ooh, let me sit with this why is this uncomfortable? Like, what's going on? Is there jealousy here? Let me learn more about that. So that's their journey. And my client's like, your hesitation is not paying the bills here, Sonal. Like, you want a job? And I'm like, no, I'm not going back to corporate. Like, do the thing. And I'm like, Diana's doing it all the time. And I think every time she's doing this, she's making more money. And I'm like, I want what she's having.
I'm going to share with you something that I'm going to challenge all of you around this. The last 3 years I've been going to Paris for a retreat, the last 3 summers, every single summer, hosted by my friend. And I posted about it on LinkedIn. I get amazing responses from it from my audience. But my friends judge me for it. Some of my closest friends I've known for over a decade, they'll tell me over dinner, you should stop doing this, especially in today's economy. You're a career coach. That's not a good image and brand for you. What they don't know is actually by me living my true life, of living my truth, is actually inspiring others of what's possible for them. That's actually getting me more business.
Yes.
And so I'm going to challenge you. Yes, it will trigger people because you're going to trigger people,
Yes.
especially people who love you, who are close to you. Like, how are they doing this, living this life, doing this thing, pursuing this? It's going to trigger them for sure. On the other
Yes.
hand, imagine the other population of people were like, oh my God, how are you doing this? How are you working 20-hour work week, going to Paris, taking 4 months off of the year? How are you doing that? And so
Yeah.
we got to keep in mind, who are we listening? Or who do we need to hear from, the validation, right? Because I could have listened to my friend and it's like, no, I should stop doing this, not post about it.
And it can also be closer to home. Like I'm doing this for my kids, but I'm doing these LinkedIn lives every Friday for 5 years. And my 17-year-old, Mom, that's so cringe. Like that's his favorite word. And the 12-year-old, yeah, it's so cringe. I'm like, I'm doing this for you, you ungrateful little schmucks. One day they're gonna get it. But even though I'm doing this for them, I'm also doing this for like these strangers that I know I can impact. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And of course, to build that secure life where he's like, I want to go to this college. I'm like, we can afford it because that's ultimately what it's about, right? Jasmine talked about financial freedom. I mean, likes and all that is great, but the triggering, the jealousies, small, I think, price of admission.
I think this is why so many people resonate with your brand, Jasmine, because you're so authentic. Like you live your life, like people can just feel it. It's like we're following you, like your updates. There's no
Well,
filter.
I will say, like, I think that the biggest thing that has transformed for me becoming a spiritual person is the realization that not everyone is supposed to transform in this lifetime. And that, I believe that what you are here to achieve and do, you will be here to achieve and do, either in this lifetime or in the next one. But so what I say is like, I activate people who are welcoming of activation because it's their soul's alignment and journey in this lifetime. But for anyone who doesn't feel the calling in this lifetime, or maybe potentially I'm not the person to activate them, they will get what they need, or they won't, but they'll get in the next one. So for me, it's like I just do what I do. And I know that anyone who needs the activation by me specifically will become activated just by being in my space. And anyone for which it is not their journey to do so in this lifetime, I send them so much love and so much desire that they do find it somewhere else. But so for me, it's like, it's not me, that's okay. Like, it's totally fine. And I think that that also helps me to be authentic because it's like, I'm not speaking to everybody. I'm just speaking to you.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna have a hard stop in like 3 minutes here. I want to give one more opportunity, like Amy and Daisy, if we can wrap up quickly, and we'll close this beautiful session.
Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I'd have time to ask this question. I'm gonna have to watch this back. Blooming heck, my mind is blown. Jasmine, one of the things I wanted to build my career for was so I could pick up my 2.5-year-old from nursery every single day and do his dinner and put him to bed. And I've had to get somebody else to do that today. And I never do that, but because there was no chance I was going to miss this opportunity to hear you. I always feel smarter when I listen to you. I listen to your podcasts, and I sat in this room a year and a half ago, listened to one of your podcasts. You were crying, I was crying. My question is, you don't like launches. I get that. Neither do I. What's your approach instead from a commercial point of view? How do you approach getting new clients?
Yeah.
What feels right for you?
Absolutely. So I do not like launches. I did them for a long time. And although they were successful, when I got to the program, I was completely energetically drained. And I didn't even like doing what I was doing anymore. It was just not effective for me. So what I do now in order to generate clients is I've already built a pretty big audience for myself. And so I just put offers out there and I put them out authentically and I get in what I need. And I think that's the beauty of building a brand for yourself, But I also do a lot of DM work in the background. So whenever someone likes a post, I send them a reply, and it's me that
Okay.
I work on my own. So I send them a reply to say, hey, what about that post really resonated with you? And I just talk to them and have conversations. I also do host webinars, much like Diana does. So I have webinars where people come and get introduced to what I do. I talk them through what I do. So there's kind of a multi-pronged strategy there. But I would say that the most successful strategy for me is just building the brand and giving the brand time to build. It gets to almost a point where people are like, but how do I actually like tap into you? Like I like, this is wonderful, all this stuff you're doing over here, but like how do I get to you? And so I think the brand helps with that. But also the strategy that I use is more so that one-on-one authentic just connection through like more DMs and more background marketing.
Okay, that makes it. And I know you don't need to hear this because you know it, because this is what you do, but I'm so glad that you are moving into this healing space. I think the universe, this is exactly where the universe needs you to be and the work that you need to be doing. And I think you have a gift and it's incredible and you're incredible. So thank you.
Thank you. I accept that so much. Thank you so much for those kind words.
Love that. Daisy, to wrap up.
I I can't hear you. I think is Daisy on mute?
No, she's not on mute, but we can't hear her. Let's see. No. Oh. Send Jasmine a voice note.
Yeah, Daisy, I know that we follow each other. I know I've seen your name so much, and I love that you're here. So just send me a voice note on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I'd be happy to chat with you or even have a little networking call. We've been in each other's space, I feel like, for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, Daisy's been in my world as well. Let's see. I don't think can't hear her because she's not on mute right now on my end. Okay, I know we got to wrap up because Jasmine has to go here. But first of all, I want to say thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. This was one of the most juiciest, most vulnerable, authentic conversations. Like, I'm just so grateful to have Jasmine, my soul sister, here, just to be pouring in with love and authenticity, vulnerability, and truth bombs. Like, it honestly was, I think, one of the most engaging conversations we had so far. Like, just the audience chiming in, asking questions, and sharing. This is what it's all about. Like, I love this, even though we're all in different parts of the world. We're all here to want to live a fulfilling life and make an impact, right? And to do something amazing, but also like living our truth, owning our power, owning our voice. And I want to encourage you to continue to live that. Believe in yourself. Like, a big part is believing that you matter, that you have something amazing to offer. And I can feel this conviction today from Jasmine sharing with us her message, even when times are hard. Like, I know she's gone through a lot of tough stuff, but she just always picks herself back up, has this amazing attitude, being grateful and showing up for the community online, for her followers. And people feel that. And I love that. Every time I hear Jasmine's voice note, it's like, it just lights me up. I'm just so grateful for you, Jasmine, for saying yes, coming back again for the 6th time. So amazing.
Diana, anything that you ask for, I will always be there to support you because you are just a gem of a human. And Sonal said it best, like, whatever you think you see, you don't know jack, because this woman is seriously one of the most amazing women that I have ever had the pleasure of not just knowing virtually, but feeling her energy in person. And so I'm so excited that you are all in the Dianaverse and that you're all taking in her beautiful and amazing energy and lessons. And she's going to take you to everywhere that you need to go.
I love this. Okay, group photo. Whoever's here, one final group photo here before we go. I love this energy. Let's just capture it. Alicia, there you are. One more. Some of you getting on camera. Awesome. Smile. Amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. We have one final session next week on Monday on scaling like a true CEO with Jeremy Kopak, who is the COO of Tiffany Uman's business. And it's all about data-driven decision making, finding your product market fit. If you are free, join us. Originally, I was only opening this up for clients, and I'm opening up to my entire community here, the coaches in business. So final session of the month. Thank you so much for being here all.